Okay, y'all. Press the wrong button. Yep, silly me. Okay. Like I've said before, mistakes will be made. If you're human, you're doing stuff, mistakes will be made. So, all right, let's get back to it. Okay. Camshafts. I was talking about camshafts for the LA Mopar, the 318, more specifically. If you are looking at doing a camshaft swap, there is a lot of options. Now, what I was talking about with the camshaft catalogs, this is an Edelbrock catalog. They will give you specs here on everything. And they will also give you details. This is not for 1985 and later engines with roller lifters. So this is a flat tappet camshaft. That's what that tells me. But this also tells me something very important. Well, I guess I plugged up my radio. How about that? Oh, here we go. Here's my light. Let me put a little extra light on here. Okay. So, now, if you look right here, it talks about duration at 50, intake and exhaust, 204. And then it also talks about, it also shows valve lift, 420. Lobe separation angle, 110. Intake center lobe, 106. They're saying, with like the stock heads, you'll probably see like 16 inches of vacuum at 1,000 RPM idle. That's pretty much going to be 16 inches. That's pretty close to what like like that $50 318 flows with it. 50 inches. It's like 17 or 18 inches of vacuum with the setup it's got right now, which is the all stock. But you can see they're 204. That's a pretty small cam. That's going to be something that's going to be like really great for like just a daily driver. Give you a little extra performance, a little extra get up and go. Okay, but let's say you want something a little hotter, a little more aggressive. Here's one right here. We're looking at 234 degrees of duration at 50. Now, what at 50 means, that means at 50 thousandths inch valve lift. When it's lifted 50 thousandths off of its seat. Okay, that's what that means. So 234 and 244. Big jump from 204, isn't it? All right. So now 488 intake, lift, 510 exhaust. So this is going to, now this is a what's called a dual pattern cam. The intake and exhaust lobes are ground a little differently. Reason being why the bigger number is on the exhaust, because your exhaust is having to like usually flow a more contorted path due to the chassis and that sort of thing. Okay, it doesn't get to just come straight out, and all of that. So what you'll need to do now is the lobe separation angle of 112 degrees at the intake center line of 107. Idle vacuum, quite a bit less, 10 inches of vacuum. Now, it says here, it has some notes, cam features, 417 horsepower and 397 pound-feet of torque with 7176 intake and 60779 heads, not for 1985 and later engines with roller lifters. Adjustable push rods or rock arms required. So, I'm going to give you a little breakdown here of what all of this mumbo jumbo is. Okay. All right. So, duration. Now, duration is basically, I tell you what, I can show you a lot better with a cylinder head. Let me be right back. Okay, y'all, we're back. As you can see, all right, I went and got a cylinder head here. I know it's rusty, it's cruddy, but it serves the purpose. All right, 302 casting cylinder head, pretty basic thing you'll find on a lot of 318s that you're going to come in contact with. So, we were talking about lift, we were talking about duration at 50, and all of this sort of stuff. So, Basically, duration at 50 is they're not going to measure the entire duration. It's pointless because really it doesn't really come into effect until the valve gets like 50 thousandths off of its seat. That's when it starts making a difference. That's when things start really happening. Now, so duration at 50, 234, 244. Now, compared to the cam I just talked to you about, 204 and 204. Big difference there in the duration. Duration is the amount of time the valve is open. So think of it as like, a door being open. You open a door really quickly, not very many people can come through. You open a door a long time, a lot more people can come through. Okay? That's just basically what they're talking about. In this case, we're talking about air. So the long duration is just length of time, in crankshaft degrees. That's what that 234 degrees and 234 and 244, that's what all of that means. It's the amount of time in crankshaft rotation, crankshaft degrees. Now, they also talk about valve lift, intake, and exhaust. That's very simple. That's just the amount of lift the valves are being lifted from on their seat. Okay? So in this particular case, we're looking at 488 on the intake. Right there, maybe let's say 488 there and 510 on the exhaust. Okay? That's all they're referring to right there. Now, lobe separation angle. Okay, I got to get another prop here. Lobe separation angle is very, very simple. It's really just, okay, that's the lobe. That's the difference in the lobes as to where they're ground at. Okay, so if you look right here, okay, you look right here, you can see the valves are ground at two different angles. Now, they're pointing in different directions. So basically, when those valves are pointing, when the lobes are pointing like this, so that duration, or not, I'm sorry, not duration, but the lobe separation angle, on particular camshaft we're talking about in the catalog here, is 107. So that's going to be pretty tight. Okay, now that gives you that choppy kind of ratty kind of sound, you hear on a lot of high performance engines, especially at the cruise ends and stuff like that, or at the track, even better. Now, on the previous cam, it had a lobe separation angle of, where was it? 110. So, that's 110. So 110, so think of these as the camshaft lobes. They're going to be 110 degrees apart in in the degrees of crankshaft rotation. So 110 versus the other one, which is 107. Okay? So this one here, the other one here, the bigger lift and everything, that's going to be a much more radical camshaft. So, yeah, but that's what you need to do when you start looking at camshafts. You will find out there is a lot of gains there to be made with particular camshafts. Now, you can go and get the cam catalog like what I've got here, and there's plenty of different manufacturers. There's like, well, of course, Edelbrock makes a few. Then there's like Lunati, there's Crane, there's comp cams. There's a bunch out there. Yeah, there's a whole bunch out there. Number one thing is, though, flat tappet cams, make sure you use really good lube on the cam lifter and use a break-in oil or a break-in additive. Okay? And do the break-in per the camshaft manufacturer specs. Okay? Do not deviate. Okay, so if we look a little bit further here in the catalog, hydraulic roller camshafts, they don't even offer one for the small block Mopar. However, that maybe we'll look at the big block Mopar here real quick, and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. 240 and 248, duration at 50, 540 and 545. That's the lift. 112 degrees lobe separation angle. So this cam probably is not going to be as radical. It's a intake center line of 107. This is pretty much fixed by the cam grinder, okay, and 10 inches of vacuum. So this is still a pretty radical cam. Maybe not as radical as the previous one, but it's going to be pretty radical. So, but anyway, so to top it all off, I want to also say, cam is one of those things you can get some big gains out of it, especially if you're going from like a stalker to something, really well matched with your combination. Now, there's going to be also a whole lot of other details that, a cam manufacturer is going to want to know, like your gear ratio, tire size, exhaust system, compression ratio. And they may even have all of this stuff listed in the catalog. Must be used with like a 4-barrel intake and carburetor, must be used with dual exhaust, must be used with like 355 or better or deeper gears, lower gears. And they may even go so far as to tell you, this cam is going to be perfect for this kind of use here. Maybe really good for towing, and then this one here is going to be, this other cam though may be very good for like racing, and those sort of things. Or this one over here may even be better for a boat application. There's a lot of different things there when it comes to a camshaft, and it can be very easy to make a mistake there. It's another reason why I didn't want to put it in the top 5. It just can become one of those things that can really trip you up and cause a lot of headaches. So, all right. Now, I would also like to say that if your small block 318 LA Mopar is not in the best of shape, yeah, you're probably doing some of this stuff is going to be not much of a gain. I mean, you're probably not going to hurt it anymore, but you're not going to see the gains you thought you would. Okay, so now notice I did not say anything about the heads. Reason why I didn't say anything about the heads is because though the heads can get very expensive, when it comes to rebuilding a cylinder head, there's a lot of little bits and parts and pieces that need to be machined and needs to be surfaced, and the head sealing surface needs to be flat, and there's a lot of little different bits and pieces there, and it can get very expensive rebuilding cylinder heads. And if you're having somebody port them for you, it can get even more expensive. If you're porting them yourself, you can save some money. But don't run out here though and buy just everything on a whim. Do your research, do your homework, figure out what you need to do, figure out where you need to go, what's the next eventual step. Okay, because when you have companies like this, like Interbrock, and they're telling you, use this cam and use this head and intake and everything else, and you will see these kind of gains. Okay, but that's they're giving you some information there. All right, use it accordingly. Okay, so do your homework. All right, I thank you very much for watching. and I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about this or anything else you see on this video or any other previous videos, you know what to do. You're smart. Put it down below, and I'll do my very best to answer your questions and help you out as much as I possibly can. Thank you very much. God bless, and have a great one.